If you ask someone what it feels like to die, you will likely hear a remarkably familiar story. The heart stops, the monitors flatline, and suddenly you're drifting, floating untethered through a vast dark expanse, moving slowly toward a warm, peaceful light. Millions of patients who have been revived from clinical death report experiencing this exact sequence, regardless of their cultural background, native language, or religious beliefs. This phenomenon is heavily documented in medical literature. In 2001, a landmark study published in The Lancet tracked patients who had suffered cardiac arrest, confirming that a significant portion of revived individuals recount detailed memories of this journey. This presents a biological puzzle. Hallucinations are supposed to be deeply subjective, driven by a random firing of personal memories and fears. It is strange that unconnected human brains would default to the exact same visual imagery of a tunnel. For many, this extreme consistency is the primary evidence for an afterlife. If everyone sees the same path, the argument goes, then that path must be a real, shared destination that we all travel to when the body shuts down. To prove this is biology rather than the supernatural, researchers faced a unique hurdle. They needed to find a way to induce this exact same afterlife hallucination in healthy people without actually killing them. The military accidentally solved this problem. To train fighter pilots, the U.S. Navy places them inside human centrifuges. These are large testing machines that spin volunteers at extreme speeds, inducing a condition known as G-LOC, or G-force-induced loss of consciousness. The physics of the test are brutal. The violent spinning forces blood rapidly away from the pilot's head. Deprived of oxygen, the brain shuts down, and the pilot completely blacks out. When the centrifuge stops and these healthy volunteers wake up, their reports mirror the patients in the hospital. They recount feelings of deep peace, out-of-body sensations, and, crucially, a journey through a dark space toward a bright light. These pilots were in no actual danger. Their hearts were healthy. The doorway to another world was never opening. The shared vision of a tunnel is a direct mechanical symptom of a human brain being starved of oxygen. Psychologist Dr. Susan Blackmore proposed the dying brain hypothesis to explain this. She realized that the specific way our vision architecture is built provides a physical explanation for why everyone sees a tunnel. This animated diagram of the visual cortex shows exactly how our brain processes sight. Notice the massive, dense concentration of cells dedicated entirely to processing the center of our vision. Conversely, the outer edges of our visual map are much less populated. There are few cells dedicated to processing our peripheral vision. When oxygen levels drop, whether from a failing heart or a military centrifuge, these starving cells begin to panic. They lose their normal rhythm and start firing chaotically. Because the cells in the center are so densely packed, their frantic firing overloads the system. This creates a powerful illusion of intense, blinding light directly in the middle of our vision. Meanwhile, the sparse peripheral cells lack the numbers to produce enough light. As they lose power and shut down, the edges of our vision fade entirely into darkness, framing that bright center. Other symptoms follow this biological logic. The feeling of peace is caused by a stress-induced dump of endorphins, while the classic life review is triggered by random seizures in the temporal lobe, the region where our memories are stored. This experience is the predictable sequence of our biological camera powering down when the power supply is cut. When a Christian and a Muslim both report seeing the same tunnel, it proves something simpler than a shared destination. It clearly demonstrates that they are running on the same human biology. Our brains act as cultural software running on top of that biology. When a person witnesses their visual cortex mechanically failing, their culture instinctively tells them to interpret those flashing neurons as a portal to heaven. The nature of consciousness still holds many unsolved mysteries. However, neuroscience provides a consistent physical explanation for the famous tunnel of light. Because we now know the tunnel is a biological illusion, and this life is the only certainty we have, our focus shouldn't be on the light at the end. It should be on making the most of the world we inhabit right now.